100 million oxygen plant tender under scrutiny as investigation expands. A major investigation is now underway into senior officials within South Africa's health sector, following fresh concerns over a controversial 100 million rand oxygen plant tender linked to the Department of Health. The probe centers on the awarding of contracts for pressure swing adsorption, or PSA, oxygen plants, critical infrastructure intended to supply medical oxygen to public hospitals, particularly during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. Investigation scope widened. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has confirmed that it has expanded the scope of a forensic investigation into the tender, which was originally managed by the Independent Development Trust on behalf of the Health Department. The initial investigation, conducted by audit firm PricewaterhouseCoopers, focused primarily on the IDT and uncovered irregularities in procurement processes. Several IDT officials were implicated. However, at the time, no officials from the Department of Health were formally investigated, as their role in the awarding of the tender fell outside the original mandate of the probe. That has now changed. Political pressure and parliamentary oversight. Democratic Alliance Member of Parliament Michelle Clarke has played a key role in pushing for greater accountability, submitting parliamentary questions to Dean McPherson, the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. Clarke specifically asked whether a senior health official was being investigated in relation to a 428 million rand contract linked to the installation of PSA oxygen plants across 45 public hospitals, and sought clarity on whether any disciplinary steps had been taken. Her questions highlighted growing concern over oversight failures and the potential misuse of public funds intended for life-saving healthcare infrastructure. Ministers confirm expanded probe. In a written response released this week, McPherson confirmed that he had instructed his department to broaden the forensic investigation beyond the IDT. He said the expanded probe will now examine the roles and conduct of all Department of Health officials who participated in the tender process. Importantly, this move was made following a request by Aaron Motoswaledi, who previously clarified that the original PwC investigation did not examine Health Department officials. Motoswaledi had also indicated that while Health Department Director General Sandile Buthelezi was interviewed during the initial investigation, no adverse findings or recommendations were made against him at the time. What the investigation will examine. According to McPherson, the renewed investigation, again led by PwC, will assess whether Health Department officials complied with procurement regulations, governance standards, and ethical obligations during the awarding of the oxygen plant tenders. He stressed that the investigation is currently at the execution phase, meaning evidence gathering and analysis are still ongoing. At this stage, no disciplinary action has been taken against Health Department officials, and no conclusions have been reached. Why the case matters. PSA oxygen plants are a critical part of South Africa's public health infrastructure, particularly in rural and under-resourced hospitals. Any irregularities in their procurement raise serious questions about value for money, service delivery failures, accountability in emergency health spending. Experts warn that procurement failures in healthcare not only waste public funds, but can also directly affect patient outcomes and public trust in the health system. What happens next? Minister McPherson has confirmed that consequence management, including possible disciplinary or legal action, will only be considered once the forensic report is finalized. The findings are expected to guide decisions by both the Department of Public Works and the Department of Health as Parliament continues its oversight role. As the investigation unfolds, attention will remain firmly on whether those entrusted with safeguarding public health resources are held fully accountable. For now, the 100 million rand oxygen plant tender stands as a test case for transparency, governance, and integrity in South Africa's healthcare procurement system.